Good morning, explorers. I tell you, it's a beautiful day today to walk around and do some exploring. I am still in Mississippi this week. I will be for the next 4 to 5 days. But today I am at LogTown, Mississippi, which used to be its own little town. It's actually in Pearlington, Mississippi now. It's considered part of Pearlington, but LogTown itself is now owned by NASA. But anyway, LogTown was originally a town for a big sawmill, and one of the biggest sawmills in the United States. I'll read you this sign here. It says, founded here in 1848, LogTown was home to the Western Lumber Company, founded in 1889, which became one of the largest lumber milling operations in the United States during the 1920s. By 1961, the last 250 residents were removed to make way for the buffer zone needed for engine testing at the John C. Stennis Space Center for NASA's Apollo Moon program. So all this land out here that was once LogTown is now owned by NASA. The Space Center is through the woods. I'll show you this map. But I am at LogTown Cemetery. Much of the town itself is gone. It's all been retaken by nature. As you see around me, it's all wooded back up. But the cemetery is still left. Heritage Trail, Possum Walk. You got LogTown Cemetery and Possum Walk. In the early 1900s, there were 2,000 or 3,000 residents of LogTown. There was a 2-story general store, company offices, homes built in rustic versions of the popular Queen Anne style, a public school with classes through 12th grade, several wooden churches, boarding houses for loggers, and the Hancock County Bank. Because there was heavy boat traffic on the river coming from New Orleans, mail was delivered twice daily. LogTown was relocated in 1964 by NASA because of its proximity to the rocket engine test facility. 12 graves from the Gainesville Cemetery were re-entered into the LogTown Cemetery. Among the 435 graves in this cemetery, look for above-ground mausoleums, Woodmen of the World Makers, and the oldest grave, dated 1853, of Florence Louise Hoffman, which was reinterred from Gainesville Cemetery. The oldest original grave is Leonard Kimball W., last name illegible, who perished in 1868. Possum Walk was an African-American town site on the north side of the Bogue Homa. There was a ferry crossing from LogTown to the settlement of freed slaves. A great many of the sawmill employees were of African descent. So, back when LogTown was a thriving community, slaves had been freed. The African Americans were no longer allowed to be bought and sold as slaves. So African Americans were freed. But, as we all know, whites and what they called colored folks, the African Americans, we were segregated. So when this town was thriving, you had an African American town site on the north side of the Bogue Homa, and a ferry would go over there and pick them up and bring them to LogTown to work at the sawmill, and then have to take them back home to the Possum Walk. Now, the Possum Walk was where the African Americans stayed. This is LogTown Cemetery, and back then it was called the LogTown Cemetery, but it was for white people. They actually segregated the graves as well. There's another cemetery, which I will show you in another video when I make it over there, that they called it the N-word cemetery. Of course, back then. Now it is called the Point Cemetery, but it is a cemetery just of African Americans. It was actually on a road called the N-word Road, which is now called the Point Road. lot of history here. In this first picture up top, it says in 1922, LogTown School provided education through the 8th grade. In picture number 2, which is going to be this one, lowering of the flag at LogTown Post Office, September 30th, 1963. In picture number 3, Sweatman Otis House. Picture number 4, Forrest Thomas Summers owned this store on Main Street, which operated until 1963. Then we got picture number 5, Westonia School in 1905 with teacher Miss Esther Lahat. And picture number 6, Cody Weston House. Picture 7 is the LogTown Baptist Church, courtesy of the Hancock County Historical Society. Then we got picture number 8, home of Sydney in photo. Hold on, make sure I'm at the right picture. That's 5, 6, 7, 8. Picture 8 says it's home of Sydney in photo and Mamie Otis on the north side of Main Street in LogTown. And then picture 10, LogTown School, courtesy of Hancock County Historical Society. Picture 11 is the LogTown Ferry across Pearl River. Took 2 hours to navigate the Pearl River waterways. Photos circa 1924. Picture 12 is a map of LogTown. And then picture 13 is the Hancock County Bank of LogTown. Picture 14, Betty Weston Otis, courtesy of Hancock County Historical Society. Okay, hold on. This picture is 9, which is home of Sydney, LogTown Methodist Church. That's where I messed up. So picture 8, LogTown Methodist Church, built circa 1880, is the prototype for the Methodist Church built in Bay, St. Louis. Then picture 9 is home of Sydney, which is in the photo, and Mamie Otis on the north side of Main Street in LogTown. Okay, so that's where I messed up. And then we got 10, LogTown School is up here. And then the ferry, and the map, the bank, and Betty Weston Otis. And then we're up to 15, which is the original home of Henry Weston right here. This is photo number 15. Definitely a good site to come check out if you are ever on the south side of Mississippi, near the Gulf, or even in New Orleans, because this is probably 10 minutes from New Orleans, back up the highway. But here's a map showing the Science Center, LogTown Scenic Byway to Space, and then the road back to Burlington, which is the direction I came in. I came this way. And then LogTown Cemetery, where I'm at. You got Pearl River, and across the river is Louisiana. There's Bogue-Homa, and then you got the Possum Walk. I'll have to do a couple parts of this video, but I'm walking back up to the cemetery now. And this will be the end of part 1, which is my introduction to LogTown. And then I will do another video of the LogTown Cemetery. And then I'm gonna go down and see the boat launch, the Possum Walk boat launch, and see if I can go up the Possum Walk trail, and then come back out, and I will stop at the Point Cemetery, which is the African American cemetery when we were segregated. But this will be the end of my introduction video. Look forward to the next one.